stirring the pot. Guess we won't starve this weekend. Dinner was a blast. The food was simple but delicious, and the company was even better. We all told stories, laughed, and the hour slipped by like minutes. Tom was the life of the party, but not in an over-the-top way. He just had this vibe that made you feel like you were in the right place. Later that night, as we sat by the fire, the group thinned out, heading to bed, and soon it was just Tom and I, the crackle of the fire keeping us company. "So, Elise, what brings someone like you out here? Not exactly a glitzy weekend getaway," he teased. I needed a break from all the glitz, honestly. Plus, Casey promised me a good time, hard to say no to that. Tom nodded, poking the fire. "Yeah, it's nice to get away from it all. No distractions, just the essentials." "That's exactly it. It's refreshing, you know? Being out here, it's real in a way that fancy dinners and city lights just aren't." We talked into the night, the fire dying down to embers. It was easy, talking to Tom. He didn't care who my dad was or how much money I had. He just saw me, just Elise. After that mountain trip, things with Tom moved fast, like, super fast. It wasn't just a fling kindled by firelight and starry skies, it was real. We clicked on every level, and before I knew it, we were talking about a future together. It was wild how natural it felt. Tom popped the question on a chilly Sunday morning. We were at my place, having just finished a breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, my attempt at cooking, which was decent at best. He looked a bit nervous, which wasn't like him at all. He kept fidgeting with the salt shaker, pushing it around the table, before finally stopping and looking straight at me. "Elise, I've been thinking. A lot, actually. About us." I smirked, wiping my hands on a napkin. "That sounds serious. Should I be worried?" He laughed, that easy laugh that always made me feel like everything was right in the world. "No, no worries. Just, well, here goes nothing." And that's when he got down on one knee, right there in my not-so-spacious kitchen, with the smell of burnt toast still lingering a bit. "Elise, will you marry me?" It was so straightforward, no frills or dramatic gestures, just him and me, and a simple question that felt like the biggest thing in the world. I didn't even hesitate. "Yes, Tom. Of course, yes." Fast forward to meeting his parents, Martha and Joe. We drove up to their house, a cozy little place with a garden out front that looked like it took more than a bit of work to keep up. Tom had told me they were simple folks, nothing fancy about them, and he wasn't kidding. Martha opened the door, and her smile was as warm as a summer day. "Tommy. And you must be Elise. We've heard so much about you." She pulled me into a hug like we were long-lost friends. Inside, Joe was just as welcoming, though a bit more reserved. He shook my hand with a firm grip that matched his stern look, but his eyes twinkled a bit as he did. "Good to finally meet you, Elise. Tommy's told us a lot." We sat down to dinner, and that's when the real conversation started. Martha served up a homemade lasagna that was absolutely to die for, and between bites, the chat flowed. "So, Elise, Tommy says you work with a charity? That's quite noble of you," Joe commented, passing me the garlic bread. "Yeah, it's something I'm passionate about. It's not about money for me, just helping where I can," I replied, trying to sound as down-to-earth as possible. Martha chimed in, her voice full of curiosity. "That's wonderful, dear. It's rare to see young folks so dedicated to good causes these days." The dinner moved on to lighter topics, but as we were clearing the table, Tom's mom pulled me aside. Her tone was a mix of sincere and something else, maybe caution. "Elise, we're just simple people here. Tom's happiness is what matters to us. You make him happy, right?" I was taken aback a bit by the directness. "Yes, Martha. Making each other happy is what we're all about." She nodded, seemingly satisfied with that answer, and patted my hand. "Good, good. Just keep that boy smiling." As Tom and I left later that night, I couldn't help but feel like I'd passed some kind of test. But more than that, I felt an immense pressure lift off my shoulders. His parents weren't just okay with me, they genuinely seemed to like me. Introducing Tom to my parents was a different story. Dads always had this way of sizing people up, and moms no pushover either. They were polite, sure, but there was a stiffness in the air. Dad gave Tom the kind of look that could either warm you up or freeze you solid, depending on his mood. So, Tom, Elise tells us you manage a small team. Dad started during dinner, his voice casual, but with an edge that could cut glass. Tom handled it well, though. Yes, sir. It's a modest operation, but we get the job done. I enjoy the challenge. Mom watched quietly, her eyes sharp but not unkind. That's good to hear. Elise has always been driven to make a difference. We hope you two support each other. They made their point without making a scene. They were cautious, maybe even a bit skeptical, but they didn't object. They just wanted me to be happy, and that was enough for them to give us their blessing. So, we got married and moved into this cozy, modern apartment downtown that Dad helped us secure. It was a big step, starting a new life together in a place that was all ours, well, sort of. But it felt right, like the beginning of something truly great. Living in our new apartment was like a dream at first. Tom and I had space to ourselves, decorating it with the mix of his taste and mine, nothing too fancy, but cozy enough for both of us. It was our little world. But soon, visits from Tom's parents, Martha and Joe, became more frequent. At first, I thought nothing of it, they were family after all. It started innocently enough. I wanted to make a good impression, so I bought a few nice things for their home, maybe a new coffee maker or some fancy kitchen gadgets. One Sunday, they came over for lunch, and I showed them the espresso machine I'd picked up for them. Martha's eyes lit up. "Oh, Elise, that's too much," she exclaimed, but her hands were all over it, checking every button and feature. Joe grinned, patting my shoulder. "You're spoiling us, Elise. What have we done to deserve this?" I laughed it off. "It's nothing, really. Just saw it and thought of you guys." That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The next time they came over, Martha pulled me aside, her voice low. "You know, Elise, our TV has been acting up. Nothing like your lovely flat screen here." I caught Tom's eye, looking for some kind of sign, but he just shrugged slightly. I didn't mind helping out, so I nodded. "Sure, I'll look into it for you." It wasn't long before I found myself buying them a new TV. It felt good to make them happy, and their thanks were always effusive, almost too much. But then, the requests started to get more specific. We were having dinner at their place when Joe brought it up. "Elise, you've been so kind with the gifts. There's actually something specific we've been needing. Our old mattress is just killing our backs." I glanced at Tom, who seemed uncomfortable but said nothing. I